Sovereignty Academy, the sixth course in clear thinking. Introduction. Why sovereignty matters. You've made it this far. You've built the firewall of logic. You've fenced your words with definitions. You've anchored them to reality through 1828. You've studied human action in praxeology. And you've seen the battlefield in the war of the beliefs. Now comes the question every other course was pointing toward. If the world is full of invasions, manipulations, collapses, and recursions, how do you live unconquered inside it? That is sovereignty. Sovereignty is not kingship. It is not flags or crowns. It is not isolation or self-sufficiency fantasy. Sovereignty is the discipline of clarity in action. It is the daily practice of refusing to outsource your mind, your choices, or your freedom to someone else's script. You already know the enemies. Confusion, which muddies thought. Coercion, which replaces choice. Manipulation, which makes you march under banners you never chose. You already know the weapons. Language bent into fog. Emotion wired to obedience. Authority dressed up as truth. Sovereignty is not the absence of these forces. They will never vanish. Sovereignty is learning to walk among them without being owned. It begins with the mind. Firewalls that detect contradiction. Precision that guards meaning. It extends into time, treating hours as territory, not as disposable fuel. It reaches into action, choosing means and ends with clarity, not drift. It sharpens in exchange, defending your wealth, your labor, your signals from being diluted or stolen. It stabilizes in community, trading, cooperating, and building without compulsion. This course will not tell you what to believe, how to vote, or what banner to fly. That would only be another leash. This course will train you to see the leashes, to cut them when needed, to walk awake while others sleep. Because sovereignty is not a slogan. It is a skill. It is not freedom as fantasy. It is freedom as practice. It is not a destination. It is a discipline. You will never escape the war of the beliefs, but you can stop fighting it blind. Welcome to Sovereignty Academy. The sixth course is now in session. Sovereignty Academy, Part I, The Ground of Sovereignty, Chapter 1. The meaning of sovereignty. Sovereignty is not a crown. It's not about flags, armies, or borders. Sovereignty begins with one thing: clarity of choice. To be sovereign means to act without hidden compulsion, to choose ends and means because you judge them, not because someone else smuggled their belief into your decision. When you decide what to eat, what to say, what to spend, what to trade, those choices look small, but each is a signal. Are you living as an independent actor, or are you living on borrowed scripts? A sovereign life does not mean you act alone. It means that even in cooperation, even in exchange, even in community, you do not mistake compulsion for choice. Praxeology showed you that human action begins with ends and means. Sovereignty is the discipline of guarding those ends and means from being rewritten behind your back. Reflective pause. Think about one decision you made this week. Was it truly yours? Or was it a script you inherited from a system, a culture, a feed, a belief you never chose? This is where sovereignty begins, not in the size of your choice, but in its clarity. Chapter 2. The enemies of sovereignty. If sovereignty is clarity of action, then its enemies are predictable. Confusion. When words blur, when signals distort, when contradictions slip by unnoticed. Coercion. When choice is replaced by force, when ends are dictated, when means are confiscated. Manipulation. When someone hides the compulsion inside story, emotion, or authority. These are not rare. They are constant. From the ads in your pocket to the laws on your street, they are daily invasions against sovereignty. And here's the trick. Most people don't see them. They call confusion debate. They call coercion law. They call manipulation culture. That blindness is how sovereignty is stolen. Reflective pause. Look at one part of your life right now. Your work, your finances, your media. Where is confusion blurring your decisions? Where is coercion forcing your hand? Where is manipulation hiding in the story you've been told? Chapter 3. The Pillars of Sovereignty. Sovereignty is not a slogan. It is a structure. And like any structure, it rests on pillars. Mind, the firewall of logic. If you cannot detect contradiction, you cannot stay sovereign. Language, defensive definition. If your words drift, your freedom drifts with them. Time, the first resource. Without command of your hours, you are conquered before you act. Action, the compass of praxeology. Trade-offs, costs, and risks are the map. Exchange, the nervous system of wealth. Money, signals, calculation. If distorted, sovereignty collapses. Community, the fabric of cooperation. Voluntary ties build strength. Coerced ties drain it. Guard these pillars, and sovereignty endures. Lose them, and sovereignty collapses. Reflective pause. Which of these pillars feels strong in your life right now? Which feels weak? Sovereignty is never absolute. It is practice. You strengthen it one pillar at a time. Hook close for part I. Sovereignty begins with clarity. Its enemies are confusion, coercion, and manipulation. Its pillars are mind, language, time, action, exchange, and community. If you see them clearly, you can defend them. If you don't, you've already surrendered. Sovereignty Academy, Part 2, The Tools of Sovereignty, Chapter 4, Mind Firewalls. Your mind is the first territory. If you can't defend it, nothing else stands. The firewall is logic. Contradictions are viruses. If you let them pass, they multiply. This isn't a tax. It's a contribution. Same effect rebranded. We restrict you to protect your freedom. Contradiction dressed as law. Everyone must obey, except the ones in charge. Broken rule. Sovereignty begins by spotting these contradictions before they burrow into your operating system. Your firewall is not a weapon of attack. It is defense. It doesn't destroy belief. It scans it. If it fails to scan, it doesn't run. Reflective pause. Think of one phrase you heard today, in news, ads, or conversation. Did it pass the firewall, or was it carrying contradiction? Chapter 5, Language as Defense. Words are not neutral. They are weapons. And if you let your enemy define them, you've already lost. Definitions are fences. If you don't hold the fence, others will move it for you. Freedom, redefined as permission. Wealth, redefined as consumption. Law, redefined as policy. Sovereignty means refusing to fight with broken tools. Before you act, before you agree, before you sign, stop. Ask, what does this word mean exactly? A single clarified word can dismantle an entire manipulation. Reflective pause. Pick one word you've heard today that felt slippery, fair, safe, sustainable, affordable. Define it clearly in your own words. Notice how the fog lifts. Chapter 6, Anchors to Reality. 1828 showed you the power of anchoring words to their original, natural meaning. Sovereignty uses anchors as ballast. When a system rebrands theft as redistribution, anchor back. Theft equal taking what is not yours. When censorship is called safety, anchor back. Censorship equals suppression of speech. When propaganda is called narrative, anchor back. Narrative equals story, not fact. Anchors don't win debates. They stop drift. They hold you steady in storms of language. Reflective pause. Choose one rebranded word you've accepted. Strip it back to its root. How does the system look once the anchor is restored? Chapter 7, Action Compass. Praxeology taught you that humans act. Ends chosen, means applied. Sovereignty uses this as a compass. Every decision has a trade-off. Every yes is also a no. Every choice has opportunity cost. When you see this structure, you act sovereign. When you ignore it, You drift, and drifting is how you are conquered. The compass protects you from promises of something for nothing, from claims of free benefits, from illusions of risk-free opportunity. Sovereignty means you see the costs clearly, even when they're hidden. Reflective pause. Look at a decision you made this week. What was the real cost? What opportunity did you give up? Sovereignty grows every time you see the trade-off instead of hiding from it. Chapter 8. Belief Awareness. The final tool is awareness of belief itself. Beliefs are operating systems. They are not optional. But if you don't see them, they run you in the background. Childhood myths that became adult rituals. National flags that became sacred objects. Corporate brands that became personal identity. You don't escape belief, you see it. You name it. And in naming it, you break its invisibility. Awareness does not make you free of belief, but it keeps you from being owned by it. Reflective pause. What belief runs quietly in your life right now? Untested, unnamed. Name it. Look at it. That sight is the beginning of sovereignty. Hook close for part 2. Mind firewalls. Language fences. Reality anchors. Action compass. Belief awareness. These are the tools of sovereignty, not weapons of conquest, but shields of clarity. With them, you don't escape the war. You walk into it awake. Sovereignty Academy, Part 3. Living Sovereign in the World. Chapter 9. Time Sovereignty. Time is the first territory. Lose control of your time, and every other pillar collapses. The world is designed to steal it. Meetings without purpose. Notifications engineered for addiction. Entertainment tuned to keep you scrolling. Bureaucracies that make waiting a way of life. Sovereignty means reclaiming the hours, treating them as scarce, as precious, as irreplaceable. Every yes is also a no. When you give your time to one thing, you surrender it to all others. Time preference, choosing now over later, is the pulse of sovereignty. Do you sacrifice the present for the future, or the future for the present? If you let others set your schedule, your sovereignty has already been auctioned. Reflective pause. Look at your past week. Who owned your hours? You, or someone else's agenda? Chapter 10. Financial Sovereignty. Money is not decoration. It is the nervous system of exchange. If your money is distorted, your sovereignty is too. Inflation erodes your savings. Cantillon effects reward early receivers of new money, punishing late ones. Debt chains tomorrow's freedom to today's consumption. Financial sovereignty means store value in forms that resist decay. Trade voluntarily, not under compulsion. See every dollar as a piece of your freedom, not just a number. Without sound money, your compass spins. Sovereignty demands honest signals. Reflective pause. Think of your savings right now. Is your money holding its value or leaking away unseen? Chapter 11. Information Sovereignty. The feed is not neutral. It is a battlefield. Every headline, every post, every viral clip is not just data. It is persuasion. It is belief packaged and delivered with precision targeting. Sovereignty means filtering consciously, rejecting rebranded words, testing claims against the firewall of logic, anchoring language back to reality, asking always, is this information or is this narrative? If you outsource your filters, you outsource your mind. Reflective pause. Next time you scroll, stop, pick one post, ask, is this information or is it narrative? Which belief war is it fighting? Chapter 12. Social Sovereignty. Sovereignty is not isolation. Humans act together, but the line between cooperation and compulsion is thin. Voluntary exchange strengthens. Forced ties drain. Sovereignty means entering contracts, friendships, and communities by choice, not manipulation. The test is simple. If you cannot say no, you are not sovereign. Reflective pause. Look at one of your closest groups: family, work, faith, friends. Do you participate freely or out of compulsion dressed as loyalty? Chapter 13. Digital Sovereignty. The newest battlefield is digital. Algorithms curate what you see. Devices track where you go. Systems assign scores to your actions. The digital leash is soft, but it tightens daily. Convenience is the bribe. Control is the cost. Sovereignty here means conscious engagement. Own your data when possible. Step outside feeds instead of drowning in them. Recognize every notification as a command, not a gift. Orwell feared telescreens. Huxley feared soma. The digital leash is both. Entertainment and surveillance fused into one glowing rectangle. Carlin would have said it straight. They didn't chain you. They just sold you the chain, and you lined up at the Apple store to buy it. Reflective pause. What's one part of your digital life you could unplug from today and reclaim as territory of your own? Hook close for part 3. Time, money, information, community, digital life. These are the front lines of sovereignty. If you guard them, you live awake. If you surrender them, you march in chains, even if the chains feel like comfort. Sovereignty Academy, Part 4. The Practice of Sovereignty. Chapter 14. Daily Drills. Sovereignty is not a mood. It is not a weekend workshop. It is a habit. If you wait until crisis to defend your sovereignty, you're already conquered. The only way to live unconquered is to train daily. 3 drills to build reflexes. Logic check. Once a day, catch one contradiction in speech, news, or advertising. Write it down. Spot the virus. Definition drill. Each day, pick one vague word. Fair, safe, cheap, sustainable. Define it clearly. Watch how the fog clears. Praxeology pause. Before a decision, ask, what is the opportunity cost? What am I giving up? Do this consistently, and clarity becomes reflex. Confusion becomes harder to install. Reflective pause. What contradiction did you hear today? Write it down. You've already started the drill. Chapter 15. Crisis Protocols. Sovereignty is easiest in calm. It is hardest in collapse. History shows what happens when systems break. People panic, cling to authority, and surrender sovereignty for the illusion of safety. The sovereign response is different. Stop the loop. When chaos hits, pause. Panic is compulsion in disguise. Trace the cause. What broke? Was it scarcity, coercion, manipulation? Re-anchor. Clarify terms. Reset to constants. Remember, contradictions and vagueness multiply in crisis. Choose sound action. Ends clear. Means realistic. Trade-offs acknowledged. Uncertainty admitted. Crisis does not end sovereignty. It tests whether you train for it. Reflective pause. Think of one past crisis in your life. Did you surrender sovereignty to fear? Or did you keep clarity? What would you do differently now? Chapter 16. Transmission forward. Sovereignty is not a private possession. It multiplies when shared. You do not need to preach. You do not need to argue. You only need to model clarity and ask questions that wake others. What do you mean by that word? Can that claim be both true and false? What did this really cost? Whose script are we running right now? Every time you ask, you transmit sovereignty, not as dogma, but as fire. The goal is not to build followers. The goal is to build others who see, think, and act awake. That's how sovereignty spreads. Quietly, strongly, viral clarity. Reflective pause. Who in your life could you pass one sovereign habit to? Not a lecture, just one question. Hook close for part 4. Daily drills. Crisis protocols. Transmission forward. Sovereignty is not perfection. It is practice. You will slip. You will forget. You will drift. But with discipline, you will notice sooner, reset faster, and walk straighter than those still sleepwalking. And that is the practice of sovereignty. Not flawless freedom, but durable awareness. Sovereignty Academy, Part V. Closing transmission. You have reached the end, not of sovereignty, but of this course. You've seen the ground. Sovereignty is clarity of action. You've named its enemies: confusion, coercion, manipulation. You've trained with the tools: firewalls of logic, fences of definition, anchors to reality, the compass of action, awareness of belief. You've walked the front lines: time, money, information, community, digital life. You've practiced the drills: daily discipline, crisis protocols, transmission forward. Now the truth stands bare. Sovereignty is not a flag you plant once and for all. It is a discipline you practice every day, or lose. The world will not stop trying to program you. Belief systems will not stop fighting to occupy you. Authorities will not stop declaring that obedience is freedom. Algorithms will not stop training you like a rat pressing levers. But sovereignty is the refusal to live blind inside their script. It is not rebellion for its own sake. It is not fantasy of escape. It is clarity, carried into action. You will still obey laws, follow rituals, spend money, and live in systems. But you will do it awake. And in a world of sleepwalkers, that alone is revolution. Orwell warned of the boot. Huxley warned of the leash. Carlin laughed at the circus. Sovereignty is the choice to see all three and walk anyway. Not free in the absolute sense, but free in the only sense that matters. Free of illusion, free of compulsion you cannot name, free of blindness. The war of the beliefs never ends, but your awareness never has to either. Live awake. Guard your mind. Defend your hours. Anchor your words. Trade by choice. Pass it forward. This is sovereignty. Transmission complete.